Hi guys, it's Matthew here. Welcome back to another video on my channel today. Today in this episode, guys, this is a video that I've been planning to do for a couple of weeks now, as a matter of fact. So today in this episode, guys, I am going to be giving you the top 10 worst episodes of Family Guy. These are my opinions on what I think are the worst episodes of Family Guy, period, as a matter of fact. So, a few months back, actually, I did my top 10 favorite episodes of Family Guy. So in this video, I'm going to be doing the opposite, and I'm going to be doing the negative, and I'm going to be giving you guys my top 10 worst episodes of Family Guy. And let me know down in the comment section, guys, what is your least favorite episode of Family Guy, as a matter of fact. But with that said, though, guys, those of you guys that are new to the channel, I do more than just movies, TV, and physical media related content. I also do Lego related stuff, and I play video games. I do all sorts of stuff like that here on the channel. So if you guys like to watch anything like that on YouTube and want to show your support, go check out my channel. And if you do, because there will definitely be something in there for you to enjoy. And be sure you hit that red subscribe button, but most importantly, make sure you press the notification bell so you don't miss anything in the future. And those of you guys that are not new to the channel, if you haven't subscribed already, please make sure you go subscribe right after this video, guys. But without any further ado, guys, enjoy the video. Let's get started. Okay, so coming in at number 10 is going to be Brian the Closer. So I am actually a little bit surprised that that this is not even on the top 20 worst episodes of Family Guy for most people. So the thing is with this episode, I do not like this episode because awful things happen to Brian and he screws over the people that help him, as a matter of fact. So those of you guys that have never seen this episode, let me explain it here. So basically, in this episode, Brian discovers an old rope toy. Peter wants it for himself, and then he ties the rope to his car, and then Brian holds on for dear life. But then what ends up happening, Brian smashes his head against a fire hydrant, and he breaks his nose and teeth, and he causes physical body harm on one of his own family members. But then Peter or Lois would not help him out. So Quagmire assigns him his dentist so he could go get his teeth emplacement surgery done. And then after he does that, with his new dazzling smile, he gets a job as like a real estate agent. But then he tricks Quagmire into buying horrible rundown property, as a matter of fact. And then he avoids him so he can't get out of his contract. But then Brian ends up getting away with it, and Quagmire's not happy. So he basically uses the bottom of a lamp to knock Brian's teeth out and then break his nose again, basically. So it happens to him again, and he comes off in the end well deserved. So basically, in this episode, that something bad happens to Brian. He doesn't deserve it, but then it happens to him again. But the second time, he deserves it, as a matter of fact. So my whole reasoning for not liking this episode is because I do not like what happens to Brian. I do not like what happens to him after he's all healed up and whatnot. Basically, any of that, I just do not care for. And yeah, I'm just not a fan of how this episode played out. I actually went back and rewatched this episode for this video, and and I was not a fan of it the second time I watched it. So yeah, it's I easily had to put it on this list. Coming in at number 8 is going to be Cutaway Land. So now with this episode, some people actually think this would be like a good episode because cutaway jokes have been a staple of the show since the show first aired. But then what happens is people would say, "Oh, a whole episode of the Griffins being stuck in a world entirely composed of those scenes would be nostalgic and hilarious all at the same time." But unfortunately, that isn't the case. It's because it gets annoying, and it gets annoying, period. And yeah, I am not a fan of the concept of this episode, as a matter of fact. I feel like this could have been a better episode if they worked out like all the kinks and whatnot. But unfortunately, and it ended up being a very terrible episode, in my opinion. And then in the end, it's revealed that it was just a dream from Peter, as a matter of fact. So yeah, just by the name of this episode, it sounds like it would be a good and a fun episode, but unfortunately, it is not. I will tell you that much, as a matter of fact. And yeah, I actually don't know a single Family Guy fan that likes this episode. At number 8, I have The Vestigial Peter. So now, this is definitely one of the lowest ranked episodes on IMDb. And I don't blame the IMDb, as a matter of fact. So, after Peter discovers of a vestigial twin in his neck, he decides to befriend it, but then he becomes annoying almost immediately, and Peter wants to have him surgically removed because he becomes annoying almost immediately, and then Chip decides to take over as the head of the family, and the Griffins suggest that the twin stays. And in general, this is not a good episode because Peter's vestigial twin becomes annoying almost immediately. And yes, I am not. Yes, I don't know anybody that particularly likes this episode, as a matter of fact. Like, personally, I do not like this episode because this episode is annoying because Chip is also annoying. and yeah, there's a lot of bad things to say about this episode, but then he goes missing, and then Peter tries to have Chip be eaten by a dingo, I believe is what that animal was called, and then he ends up running off, as a matter of fact, and then the Griffins have to go and find him, as a matter of fact. So yeah, overall, this is not a good episode, in my opinion, and honestly, there won't be very many people that agree with me. At number 7, I have You Can't Handle the Booth. So now this was actually the lowest ranked episode on IMDb, and I'm kind of surprised a little bit that this one is one of the lowest ranked episodes on IMDb, because I'm not surprised I'm surprised that it's the lowest ranked episode on IMDb. But I'm not surprised that the IMDb thinks it's a bad episode, as a matter of fact. But so yeah, This episode, the concept is interesting, Adam, at first, because this episode sees the Griffins recording DVD commentary for like a fake episode, and at one point during this episode, they even have the voice actors, they have the characters talk to their voice actors, as a matter of fact, which is also kind of cool, but in general, there's a whole lot of meta jokes in this episode. I do not think are funny, like at all. I mean, like I said, the concept in this episode is interesting, and I like the concept, but this one needed to be done better. I feel like if they did this episode better, it probably would have been a good episode, but it ends up being boring, as a matter of fact. So yeah, in general, yeah, this is not a good episode, as a matter of fact, and yeah, it deserves to be on this list. At number 6, I have Peter Asmuth. So this episode is where Angela harasses Peter into trying to have sex with her so he can cheat on Lois, as a matter of fact. And yes, this is another episode where not too many people are gonna disagree with me, because I don't really know a single person that likes this episode. In general, I don't like this episode either. Because this one is about Peter being bossed around by his employer Angela. But yeah, and then she tries to get him to cheat on his wife, but it's also kind of sad for Angela because she hasn't been with anybody in over 20 years, and she doesn't think anybody's ever going to love her again, and that's why she's been acting like a wacky ass around Peter. But then Peter uses Mort to hide under his shirt and pants to fool Angela so he doesn't cheat on Lois. And that was stupid, but also kind of funny. Because I do not like Mort at all. I actually think Mort is annoying, and there's fans of Mort, and I get that, but unfortunately he is not one of my favorite characters at all whatsoever. Number 5 is going to be April and Quahog. In this episode, Peter mistreats his kids, makes fun of his wife, and he treats his friends like crap, etc., etc. I get it. We know Peter is designed to be a mean character, and he's designed to be selfish in some ways. But deep down, he's always loved his family and would do anything to protect them, period. But with this episode, he admits he hates spending time with the kids. Because in this episode, they think the world is going to end, but since it's April 1st, it was revealed that it was just an April Fool's joke. And then in this episode, he buys the kids' love back with an Xbox, and they bring back Surfing Bird. Hilarious. But yeah, the concept of this episode is not very good in my opinion, and I do not like how Peter acts in this movie. It's just this is another episode that's just not very good at all. At number 4, I have Quagmire's dad. This episode is actually known for aging like milk. And in this episode, we see Quagmire's dad as like his normal human self. But then the guys are shocked when he comes out as Ida, a trans woman, and the Griffins and Quagmire mock her to her face, and then Brian also vomits that he slept with her during her post surgery and whatnot. And yes, that is not a very good episode. And whenever she tries to be thoughtful, they mock her and mistreat her again. And this is another episode that should be on this list, because this is not a very good episode, and this episode has not aged well at all. Real quick before I give you my bottom 3 episodes, guys, be sure you subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you can get notified every time I upload. And like I said at the very beginning of this video, if you guys are new to the channel, I do more than just movies, TV, and physical media related content. I also do LEGO related stuff, and I play video games. I do all sorts of stuff like that here on the channel. So if you guys like to watch anything like that on YouTube, be sure to go check out my channel and show your support, because there will definitely be something in there for you to enjoy. And if you haven't subscribed already, guys, please go subscribe to the channel right after this video is over, as a matter of fact. But with that said, let's continue. At number 3, I have the 2,000-year-old virgin. So now this is Jesus's second appearance as a character on the show. His first appearance was on the episode I Dream of Jesus, but before that, he was in a bunch of cutaway jokes. And sorry guys, some stuff was falling off here. But before that, he was in a bunch of cutaways in like the earlier parts of the show, as a matter of fact. And because of that, they thought nobody thought he would become like a main character on the show. But yeah, he first appears as a character in the episode I Dream of Jesus, which is a good episode. I actually think that's one of the best episodes of Family Guy. But then the show decided to bring him back afterwards in the 2,000-year-old virgin. So what do they mean by in this episode? Jesus is 2,000 years old and he's never had sex. You guessed correctly. Yes, and this is an episode that has definitely fallen flat for their fans over the years. And I am not even a fan of this episode. I mean, I like it when they reference Jesus on Family Guy, because I like supporting Jesus, and I like how he appears on the show. And yeah, I like how he appears on the show and how they show him all the time. But this is not an episode that I really enjoy, because like when it comes to like the actual Jesus story and like real life, I don't even think Jesus even got married. So in this episode, they bring back Jesus and try to help him find a girl that he wants to spend the rest of his life with, as a matter of fact. And yeah, this was not worthy of an episode, as a matter of fact. And so yeah, I was not a fan of this episode at all. At number 2, I have Fresh Air. Okay, so let me say something. The worst part about this episode is all the uncomfortable jokes that it has. I'm not going to say any of them. I don't even remember the uncomfortable jokes. I just remember that this episode has like a lot of uncomfortable jokes, and I don't even want to repeat them anyhow. So in this episode, Peter's father-in-law, Carter Pewterschmidt, breaks his leg. Chris has to go spend time with him to make until he feels better. But then after Carter is all done, he feels better, he makes Chris the main part to the Pewterschmidt fortune, and then people were saying whoever marries Chris will be the lucky person. But then Peter's jealous because Chris has all that money. And so here's what Peter does. He tricks Lois into signing divorce papers, and then he marries his own son to try just so he could get his hands on Chris's inheritance. But then it also comes off as very sad because what Peter did was wrong, and it's also sad for Chris because he's desperate to spend more time with his father. And in general, yes, this is a bad episode in my opinion because there's just so many uncomfortable things so many uncomfortable jokes in this movie, and then Peter tries to marry his own son, and yeah, I am not a fan of this episode, and I don't know anybody else that would even go back and rewatch this episode because it's not very good, and I don't blame people. All right, we've reached the number one worst episode of Family Guy. We are on to the Big Daddy now. The Big Daddy. The absolute worst episode of Family Guy. And in my opinion, this should have never, ever been an episode that have should been made. And that is Stewie is a Sant. What happens in this episode? Stewie thinks his relationship with Brian is falling apart. So here's what he does. He impregnates himself so him and Brian can have a baby. And he gathers Brian's DNA and he uses his DNA to impregnate himself so Brian can spend more time together. And yes, this episode is an absolute abysmal. And it's pretty gross too, if you ask me, because guys can't get pregnant. But Stewie uses a device to impregnate himself so him and Brian can have a baby. And they have so many babies, and the babies that they produce are even worse. And Stewie should have never done this because Brian left Stewie so many times because he thought he wanted to be alone for a little bit. And Stewie didn't even have to go through any of that. And yes, this episode is just topped off with a very bad ending after watching through abysmal and a very gross episode. And then they leave the babies that they produce out at a local animal shelter, and everything returning to normal. But the main issue is this episode, it will never be normal again after what Stewie and Brian went through, as a matter of fact. And yes, I feel like this episode was only made just to be gross. And that is why in my opinion, this episode should have never been made, in my opinion, as a matter of fact. And for me personally, this is easily the worst episode of Family Guy, period. So there you have it, guys. There is my top 10 picks of the worst episodes of Family Guy, as a matter of fact. Let me know down in the comment section, guys, what do you think the worst Family Guy episode is? And so yeah, guys, be sure you hit the red subscribe button, but most importantly, make sure you press that notification bell so you don't miss anything in the future. And those of you guys that are not new to the channel, if you haven't subscribed already, please make sure you go subscribe right after this video, guys. Without any further ado, guys, I'm going to go bring you back to more videos, because more videos are on the way, sooner rather than later, as a matter of fact, guys. But with that said, though, guys, take care, drink water, and stay safe, and I will see you all in the very next video. Bye!